So you're looking at coming on a ski holiday to Japan. First of all, get excited because it's exactly what you see in the videos. But you might be asking yourself, what kind of gear am I going to need to bring? So in this video, I'm going to talk about the ski gear that I use with over 150 days of skiing in Hokkaido, Japan, in the resort and in the backcountry, specifically in the Niseko region. Now, there's a few things that I just want to get out of the way first before I dive into all of the gear that you see here. The first thing being that I've paid for every single piece of gear that you see here, or been given it by family or friends. What that means is I can speak openly and honestly with you about the advantages and the disadvantages of each individual product, because not everything that I have here is 100% perfect for my needs. The second thing is I'm from Australia and I ski exclusively in Japan at the moment. Now, I have to travel with all of my ski gear to and from Japan every winter season. I've tried to create the most minimalist approach to the ski gear that I own, which means I've had to make certain compromises to try and make a true one ski quiver. The third thing is a lot of this gear has been purchased and perfected to work in the resort as well as in the backcountry. And the fourth thing is that just because I use a piece of equipment doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Everyone has different requirements, so this is specifically telling you what I use, and it may help give you an idea about what you may want to bring or purchase for a ski trip in Japan, and it might give you some useful information that you haven't found anywhere else. Socks, in my opinion, you can never have too many ski socks. They obviously get wet, they get stinky, they get sweaty, so having multiple pairs of ski socks I think is really important. So I have 4 different pairs of ski socks, all in different thicknesses. I have a very, very thin pair of sumo socks, which I purchased here from Rhythm. These are about as thin as you can get with a wool merino blend. So these tend to be my spring skiing socks. They're really nice and thin. They're not too hot. They wick away moisture if I need them. And being that they're the thinnest, they give me a really good boot feel. When it's not super cold, these are my default sock that I'll go to. The next 2 pairs of socks are what I would consider medium thickness. I have one Le Bent pair and one Rosignol pair. These are in midwinter, generally the go-to socks. So anywhere from middle of December all the way through until late Feb, even into early March, while it's anywhere between sort of -7 to -15 degrees. These are my go-to socks. Finally, I have my thickest pair of socks. Once again, a pair of Le Bent socks. These are extremely thick, but extremely warm. I very rarely use these. I personally don't find the temperature too cold here in Niseko. They definitely are thick though, so if I wear them on the wrong day, my feet sweat, which actually makes my feet get colder. So I'm very careful about when I choose when to wear these. This thing here I've had for honestly as long as I can remember. I don't even know what brand it is. I believe it's actually an Aldi special. Once again, merino wool. This thing keeps me warm in the coldest of climates that I've seen in Hokkaido and wicks away a lot of moisture even when it's up to 15 degrees in the spring. Absolutely nothing special here. Just got a zip on the top here that I can undo for a little bit of breathability on my upper chest. I don't really have too much to say about this. Honestly, it's probably getting to the point where I should purchase a new one, but this thing has worked so well, has no holes in it or anything like that. And I honestly hate getting rid of things that just work. So this thing I'm probably going to run into the ground until it has holes all through it, but I literally cannot fault it. Now, this is where I will probably differ to a lot of people out there, but I own a set of base layer bottoms. I've not worn these once in my 3 seasons here. I own them just in case it gets too cold, but I have honestly never needed them. I just wear ski pants. For me, if I had these on, I feel like I would just be way too hot. They just sit in my suitcase this whole time, just in case one day I might need them. So that might be something completely different to anyone who's watching. Everyone else that I know and speak to wears a set of base layer bottoms. It's probably a credit to my ski pants, which I'll get onto a little bit later. I have 2 sets of gloves. The first set of gloves that I own, and these are specifically used for boot packing or backcountry ski touring, a local brand, Yama Plus. So these are just a really thin inner glove. I never wear them inside my actual gloves. They only come out when I know it's going to be hot, boot packing or hiking or ski touring. When your body is exercising, one of the main areas of your body that likes to expel heat are your hands. So if you're ski touring uphill or you're boot packing and your body's overheating, it's always good to have a thinner pair of gloves that you can switch on. I can't fault them. I've used them for over a season and a half now, and it's only now that I've just started to get a little hole, I don't know if you can see that, in the thumb. I might try and ride them out for another season, we'll end up seeing. And I keep them in my backpack at all times because you just never know when you're going to need them. Now, these were a new purchase this season. These are made by Dakine, not sure how to say it. These are medium warmth. They're not too crazy, so I generally don't get cold hands too often. Obviously Gore-Tex, which is good, keeps the water out. And these are one of my favorite things, the little string to put around your wrist. So, you know, if you're on the chairlift or you need to pop your glove off quickly to check your phone, you can just take your glove off like this, and they just hang there. You don't drop them off the chairlift or anything stupid like that. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with these. They've got a Velcro strap here to tighten them down. But yeah, I've never had a problem with these. They stay nice and dry. Obviously they're brand new, so you'd want them to. Medium warmth gloves for me here in Hokkaido, Japan. Pretty straightforward piece of equipment made by Wind Extreme. Now, I prefer the really long neck gaiters. The top part is thicker material and the bottom is extremely thin. So when you put it on, it sort of bunches up around your neck here. And because it bunches up around your neck, you don't end up with an exposed part of your neck or your chest to the elements. Now, another reason I like why it is long is when I'm ski touring, I'll have it stretched up over my head so that my ears are concealed, and I'll put my beanie over the top like so, and I still have enough length down here so that it covers my entire neck. Being able to just quickly pull that up over the top of my head and chuck my beanie back on top is awesome, and having my neck still completely covered. If I'm skiing in the resort, most of the time I'll actually have it sitting underneath my neck here. So obviously I have a beard which does an excellent job at protecting me or protecting my face from the elements, but I have the ability obviously to pull it up over my face if it starts to get extremely cold. So one of, if not the most important piece of gear that I never ski without is my helmet. It keeps my head warm, and if I hit anything or crash, it's supposed to protect my head. So I've had this for easily, I think about 10 years now. It's an Anon high wire helmet, and it fits my head like a glove. It also fits perfectly with my goggles, so you don't have a jerry gap, and so your forehead doesn't get cold. The buckle is one of the magnetic clips. I like that. It's really easy to take on and off with big gloves on. So nice flat surface on the front here for my GoPro mount, and a little bit of a brim there which oversits the top of the goggles. So very nice piece of gear. It's getting old. Once again, it just works. I haven't had any massive crashes with it. It has certainly copped a lot of tree branches and a few falls on some harder snow, but no damage to it, so I'm going to keep it. I have two pairs of goggles. I'm not fortunate enough to own a pair of goggles where it came with multiple lenses or it's easy to change the lenses. The first pair of goggles, which are my main goggles that I'll use from pretty much the start of December all the way until even mid-March, late March. These are Oakley flight decks with the Prism Rose Gold Iridium lenses, which have a VLT of 13%. They work from complete whiteout conditions with really, really flat lighting to some of the sunnier days, mid-winter sunny days. They are still perfect. And as I said before, they fit the top of my helmet perfectly, so I don't have any air that gets in between the goggle and the brim. That's one thing I will say here in Niseko, if you're looking at coming here, is it is cloudy almost all of the time during midwinter, so having a low light lens goggle is extremely important. These, as I said, they're my daily drivers. They get used for upwards of 50 days per season, and they just get absolutely beaten into the ground. So that is what I use. Obviously, there's other brands out there that work really well too. I've just always kind of been an Oakley person. Now, my other pair of goggles I have, I was given these by a friend. They are made by Prime, I think, which is just a Amazon or eBay brand. But the main reason I have these is they have a blacked out lens. So These come out in late March, April, depending on the conditions. They do have a removable magnetic lens, which is kind of cool. I wish the Oakleys had that. So I can take them off if I'm starting to fog up, which is excellent. But yeah, they really don't get a huge amount of use, but I bring them with me every time because I know I'll use them, I guess, at least once during the season. Because I do a lot of ski touring, I'm wearing sunnies more than 50% of the time when I'm in the backcountry. Now, these are obviously not specifically made for ski touring. I just happen to own them and I wear them back home in Australia and they work quite well. These are Ray-Ban Clubmasters. They're polarized, so extremely good in glary conditions. They help me see undulations in the snow and they do a reasonable job of protecting my eyes when it's snowing. Ski touring sunglasses will generally wrap around here more to protect the sides of your eyes, which these do not do. But once again, they weren't designed for ski touring. So I purchased this before I came here to Japan this season and I haven't used it once. Sorry, I lie. I have used it a couple of times for night skiing. This is a Kathmandu puffer jacket. I purchased this thinking I was going to use it a lot more than I did, and turns out I just didn't need it, which isn't such a bad thing, and I'll tell you why in a second. But when I am skiing this season, I have purely just worn my merino wool base layer and my ski jacket, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. Now, with the way that I ski, whether it's in resort or in the backcountry, I'm basically always moving, so I'm always warm. And I am the type of person who sweats a lot. My body gets really, really hot. So I have, as I said, never really needed this whatsoever. Now, the good thing is that I keep this in my backpack at all times. Folds up extremely small. You can actually fold it up into the pocket. I'll show you. So yeah, it just folds up into one of the pockets. It's now inside out and you can zip it up, which is fantastic because, as I said, I always keep it in my bag. And the reason I do that is because if I get injured or if someone else gets injured, I have an extra layer that I can either keep myself warm with or keep someone else warm with. So it is a piece of equipment that stays in my bag from the day I arrive in Japan to the day that I leave. I lied, I'd take it out now. I love this thing. Honestly, this is the best ski jacket I've ever owned. And the best part about it is I got it free from my friend Max, who actually got it from his friend Jimmy. This is an XTM Telemark 2 jacket. If you don't know about XTM, they're an Australian company, which is fantastic because I'm Australian. So this is a waterproof hard shell. It's not insulated whatsoever. So it's an extremely lightweight, thin jacket, which I've only just discovered this season that shells are the way to go. Being able to put more layers on or take more layers off underneath is extremely important. So we've got a 15K, 10K rating on it. A big pocket in here, which I put usually my spare GoPro batteries. It's got two side pockets on the side here. I don't really use them a huge amount. This one is awesome. I've never had a jacket with this, but it has a lift fast jacket in the arm, Velcro on the ends of the arms. So I put my gloves on, put this over the top of it, Velcro them down, keeps any wind and stuff from getting inside. One thing that I never had before this jacket as well is a hood that fits over my helmet, which is absolutely fantastic because there are some days here where it's extremely windy or there's a lot of snow, so it's flying everywhere and you want to try and keep as much snow out from inside your jacket as possible. And you can zip this all the way up here, which is absolutely ideal. Yeah, honestly, I love this jacket. I know it's at least 3 or 4 seasons old now, but honestly, it has worked so well that I'm scared to buy another jacket that won't work as well. So I will only wear this jacket and my base layer for pretty much the entirety of the season. That may be something that people think is crazy. My body just runs hot. So honestly, jacket, 10 out of 10. It's not even secondhand, it's third hand now. Big shout out to XTM. This jacket is absolutely fantastic. If you want to send your boy current season jacket, feel free to hit me up. I would absolutely love to rock some of your gear. These are questionable. This is probably the one piece of gear that is aged beyond belief, but once again, they work and they keep me warm. And I feel like if I buy a new pair of ski pants, I might be disappointed. So these are made by Aggression, which I've looked up and I have absolutely no idea what they are. These are hand-me-downs from my dad. It's been 3 seasons now, 3 full seasons, wearing these every single time out in the mountains. I don't wear my leg thermals or my leg base layers. I just rock these, and I have never had cold legs. The leg gaiters, the elasticity, completely gone. Yeah, not a huge amount to say about the ski pants. They're extremely basic as far as I understand, and they just work. The backpack that I use every single day that I go skiing, this is a Dakine Heli Pro 24 litre backpack. Now, I originally purchased this at the start of last season as a resort-only bag. I didn't do any backcountry skiing then. I didn't even want to do any backcountry skiing then. It just wasn't on my radar. So I went for a 24 litre because it's relatively slimline. And the main reason I wanted it was to carry water and some filming equipment, as well as being able to strap my skis to the side and hike up any boot packing within the resort. I also carry my lunch with me most times. I generally don't stop for lunch at any of the ski resort. Half a budget thing, half a trying to ski as much power as possible sort of situation. As a resort bag, it works perfectly fine. And then this season, it got tested extensively in the backcountry, and I'm actually quite happy with it. I think the only thing that I would say is it's borderline too small for backcountry days. It's a squeeze to fit everything in here when I've got my skins in there for the downhill, but I do make it work. Has a goggle pocket. I keep a few bits of equipment in here at all times. I have a screwdriver with a bunch of different heads on it and just a couple of GoPro pieces here and there. But for the uphill in backcountry, my goggles go in here and it's perfectly fine. It's sort of really soft on the inside so it doesn't damage the goggles. Also on the front here, I have an additional pocket. I've taken all the backcountry specific stuff out and I'll talk about that in a second. I have a ski strap. You just never know when you're going to need a ski strap, and an emergency blanket, which I think is essential for backcountry adventures, even side country in the resort here. So if someone hurts themselves, you want to be able to protect them from the wind and keep them warm. Down the bottom here, it has an apparatus that I can strap my helmet to the outside, which is fantastic. Obviously standard ski straps on the side, so they fit my white walkers, which are 116mm thick, nice and wide for the big power skis. The main pocket here, you've got a holder for your shovel handle and probe, and I guess a netted pocket here. I keep my Insta360 in there. And enough space at the bottom for the shovel, the shovelly bit. I don't know, what's it called? The scoop of the shovel? Who knows? And the back pocket, I like having my avalanche gear in its own pocket and my lunch and extra jacket in a spare pocket. So that's what this back compartment's used for. And another cool piece that is good for traveling is it fits my laptop in this little pocket here. I don't know if it's designed for that, but that's what I use it for when I'm traveling. I use this as my carry-on bag. So I wish they made this in a bigger size. I think the 24 is as big as it gets. But if they made a 30 or a 32 of it, I'll buy it in a heartbeat. And the upper buckle, there's a whistle on here as well. Peerless whistle. Never know when you're going to need that. Just like so. But yeah, that's what I use when I am ski touring, when I'm in the resort. That's how I have it set up. So when you're backcountry skiing, there's obviously 3 pieces of gear that you should have. And I also think it's necessary for skiing in the side country, the Niseko gate system. Now that I own this, it literally stays in my bag all the time because it's really not that heavy. You just never, sometimes you'll go and ski and think, oh, I'm not going to go ski out of bounds today. Next thing you know, you're skiing out of bounds. And it could be one of those times where you do that and something happens and you need this equipment and you just decided not to take it along with you that day. So I'm not concerned at all with the slight bit of extra weight. I would honestly say the shovel and probe is less than 1 kilogram. Obviously my probe, I keep it out of the little bag that it comes in. So this is a Mammut 2.7 meter probe. I was told in my AST course that it's probably slightly too small of a probe. I should try and get a longer probe, which I think I will do, especially in Japan when the snow depth is so deep. Having as long a probe as possible is quite important because, you know, if my mate is buried in an avalanche 3 meters down, I'm not going to be able to probe them with the 2.7 meter probe. So anyway, that stays in here. Another piece of Mammut gear. So my shovel, beacon and probe I got as part of a Mammut kit. Don't have a huge amount to say about the shovel. It works. I've used it in training before. It has an extendable handle, like so. Whenever I've needed to use it in training, it digs snow if I operate it correctly. That will sit permanently. Shovel, blade, scoop, whatever you call it, goes at the bottom there. The handle just goes in the side there like that. And it all just fits in my bag. The handle is very close to not fitting, but it works. So final key piece of backcountry equipment is obviously an avalanche transceiver. It's a Mammut Barryvox 3. I don't really need to go into too much detail about this. This is not an avalanche safety video. It's just a video explaining my gear. The best place to have it on you is on the harness and not in your pocket. I put it on at the car and we do a beacon check, as you've probably seen in basically any of my videos from this season. Absolutely non-negotiable for backcountry skiing. And a final piece of gear that I generally always keep in my bag is a rope. The reason you want a rope, especially in Japan, is there's a lot of holes and creeks, and especially coming into spring or when it gets hot during winter, you get full depth glide cracks or glide avalanches. And sometimes we're dealing with like 3, 4, 5 meter snowpacks. It's possible. I actually had a friend, Tom, I'll put some pictures up. Tom, who I met this season, he's a ski guide, he's a backcountry guide. And actually outside of the Niseko gates, he fell into a glide crack, and he was actually quite lucky he could pull himself out of it. But it's entirely possible that you're with a group of people, you're with your friends, and someone falls into a hole and you need to pull them out. So having a rope with you is extremely important, because you just never know when you're going to need to lower that rope into a hole and hopefully pull your friend out. So that's another piece of gear that just goes in my bag, and it stays in my bag. It weighs literally nothing. It takes up a little bit of space, and it's just handy to have, because if you need a rope and you don't have a rope, I have no idea what you're going to do. Final little piece of ski terrain equipment. Obviously, if you're climbing uphill in the backcountry, you need skins. Now, I don't have a huge amount of experience with, I have zero experience with different skins. So these are the first ones I purchased when I needed them last season. They were literally the only set that the shop had that would fit my skis. But yeah, these are G3 skins, and I mean, I have zero things to compare with, but they work. Pretty standard piece of equipment for backcountry skiing. They stick to your bottom of your ski, and they allow you to climb uphill with them. One thing I have noticed compared to other people that I go ski touring with that have different skins is these are quite glidey. So a lot of the time on the flat areas or like slightly downhill, I found that I can sort of ski a little bit further distance. So yeah, along the flat parts, I'm able to, I guess, skin faster with using roughly the same amount of energy as other people. One thing I did need to actually buy, someone actually messaged me about this, so may as well talk about it, is obviously the skis that I have are twin tips, but I had to buy an extra attachment to go onto the twin tips. So G3, this is not the standard clip on the back that they come with. I did have a guy who asked me, how do I keep them attached to my skis? And my answer to him was, well, sometimes they do still come undone, but this piece is better than the standard. So ski boots are a funny thing, right? Because obviously what I use may not fit your foot properly. So I guess take everything that I say with a grain of salt. Now, these are the Atomic Hawks XTD 130. It's the mid-volume hybrid touring boot that Atomic does. So they work for what I'm doing. There is one specific thing that really pisses me off about them that I'll talk to you about in a second. But basically, when I purchased these, the main reason for needing to buy them was for tech inserts to work with my shift bindings. I had a perfectly fine set of Nautica Speed Machine 130s that I bought the season before that worked fine. I went to Boot Solutions for the second time in 2 seasons. Shout out to Boot Solutions. And basically, I was looking for a boot that fits similar to what I was used to, which was the Nauticas, but would give me the ability to tour uphill, and were primarily focused on the downhill. And that's exactly what this boot is. It's not the lightest weight boot. It doesn't have the most amount of mobility in the world, but it's nice and stiff and responsive. Not quite as stiff as what I found the Nauticas to be, but I can use them as a resort boot. with absolutely no issues whatsoever. And they obviously have touring capabilities. So a couple of things I do like about them is the spring-loaded clamp that keeps the buckles in place. Don't know if I like this or not, but the booster strap kind of has like a weird sort of, like you pull it like that and then you clip this. I'm used to Velcro, but I guess it works. And it's got a walk mode, so obviously makes it nice and fun for ski touring uphill. Get a little bit more flexibility than normal. For what I use them for, they work. The one gripe I really have about them, like out here, obviously ski touring in the backcountry, it's generally deep pow. And when I get to the top in those sorts of conditions, I generally have a lot of snow buildup underneath this little lock-in pin here, and sometimes on the spring. There's sometimes I've gone to lock the boot back into ski mode, and for whatever reason, whether the snow's built up here or on the spring or both, I struggle to get it to actually lock in to the ski mode. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes, like, I've figured out how I can easily clean it off here with my pole. If I just smack it heaps, the snow will generally come off. But if there's snow built up in this spring, I generally have to get one of my friends to actually clear it out for me, because it's difficult for me to see on the back of my leg. Once I figured out what that actually was, I've been able to mitigate it. But could they do something better to fix that? Maybe. Is there a reason they've probably put this on the outside? Possibly. I don't actually know why, but yeah, it's just one of those weird quirks that I've run into using it. But overall, they're really comfy. They're extremely responsive. They're nice and stiff for the way that I ski. And yeah, I really rate these boots. They cost me a fortune. I've used them for, I'll probably say 100 days now, bang on, and they're holding up fine. They work well. Never had water seep into them at all. Yeah, they do the job. Since I've bought these, I've had so many people messaging me asking what they are, so it's about time I tell you about them. These are the Dioran FR Apollo freeride ski poles, and I absolutely love these things. They have done easily 50 days with me, and apart from some scratches and stuff, they still look almost brand new. The main reason I actually bought them is on the powder basket, they have a GoPro mount, and the ability to, on top of the poles, attach another piece which screws into the top of the pole, and it fits a standard GoPro mount. Since I've done that, now instead of ski touring up the hill with my GoPro on a selfie stick and holding my ski poles in one hand, I now just strap the GoPro to the top of this, and I don't have to pull my GoPro in and out of my jacket all the time. So it's constantly attached to my ski pole, and whenever I want to stop and vlog, tell people about sort of what I'm doing, yeah, it's nice and easy. I just hit stop record and sort of off I go again. I don't have to keep pulling it in and out of my pocket. So fantastic set of ski poles. They're adjustable from, they go a little bit lower than the lowest marking. So I'd probably say about 95 up to, I think it's 145. Max is 145 centimeters. Extremely durable. They're made completely of metal, and another one of my favorite features of them is that the handles are massive. Obviously, when you're traversing or ski touring up a hill, you've got a high side and a low side. So generally on the low side, you'll hold the ski pole like this, and on the high side, you can hold it further down like so. So you don't have to adjust the pole sizes all the time. So I'm constantly changing my grip on these ski poles depending on what I'm doing, which is absolutely fantastic. The only gripe I have about them is sometimes in really deep snow, I'll get some snow build up actually on the handle. You know, you get a bit of snow build up on here, and I'll put some footage up of me like whacking them like so to try and get the snow build up off poles. But awesome set of poles. I really like these. If I break them, I'd buy another set tomorrow. So these things are excellent. So these here are my Armada White Walker 116s. I bought these midway through January last season. Sammy Carlson is my favorite skier. I watch every bit of content that he brings out, and I love the way that he skis. I wish I could ski like that. So that's not the only reason I bought these skis, but it is some part of a contributing factor. I feel like other than that, they are very suited to the conditions that we get here in Japan. So these are the 185 centimeter height. They're obviously a fair bit taller than me, but being a powder focused all mountain ski, having the extra height is not too bad of a thing because they have a lot of rocker on them. So they're not really like a true at 185 length in terms of edge length. But as I said at the start of the video, I exclusively ski in Japan, at least for the moment. And I wanted a powder ski. So I tried the Bent Chetler 120s, awesome ski. They skied power amazingly. I was already skiing on a 116 and I just felt the jump up to the 120 felt just a little bit too big. Like you wouldn't think 4 millimeters made a difference, but I felt like it did. So I then tried the JJ 116s, also fantastic in powder, but I just felt they were like noodles. In powder, they were so playful. You could butter around and do all sorts of stuff on them, but the moment that like it wasn't fresh power, they're literally like skiing on 2 bits of spaghetti. So basically kind of what I wanted was like a slightly thinner Bent Chetler 120 or a slightly stiffer JJ. And there was not much information online. Lucas Catania was probably one of the only people that had like decent information on them. From what I could gather, these were like a stiffer Armada JJ. So I went back to the shop, still couldn't demo them. I was just like, screw it. They're obviously not going to be crap. So I went and bought them, and honestly could not be happier with these skis for the conditions that I ski. So I bought them as predominantly a resort ski. I'd started venturing into a lot more of the serious side country that Niseko has to offer and was finding myself skiing fresh powder more often than not. This is why I landed on them. Obviously they're 116 mil width, which is quite a wide ski. It's not very wide for Japan, but it's quite a wide ski in general. They have a huge amount of rocker on them. So basically from as soon as or even before where the edge stops, like basically here is where the rocker starts, a large amount of splay at the tips, and it's pretty much the exact same on the tails. They're not exactly identical, but they're pretty close to it. So they are extremely solid underfoot. So they have a really thick core underfoot. Basically just in front of the binding, they move down to a thinner core here, and eventually that core stops and you've just got top sheet, base and edge, and then eventually the edge stops. Simply put, they're really stiff underfoot and they're very, very flexy at the top, and same with the tail. So when I bought them at the time, I didn't do a huge amount of backcountry skiing, or I did none actually. I'd never been backcountry skiing ever, but I bought them because they're also quite lightweight. For how big they are, they're extremely light, and I just knew that if I continue with this skiing thing last season, I just thought to myself, right, it's possible that I might get into backcountry skiing. Now this season, as I said, I've spent more days in the backcountry than I have in the resort, so it ended up basically working out perfect. I absolutely love these skis. I ski them from the day I get here to the day I leave. They're my only set of skis that I own. I'd say the only time they struggle is when it's icy, but in choppy pow, in deep pow, in untracked pow, even in the spring slush, they work perfect, and they carve pretty decently for such a wide ski. They don't have the tightest turn in radius on them or whatever, but I make them work, and I'm happy that I have a powder focused ski because that's predominantly what I come here for, is to ski powder. I love these skis. If you're thinking about buying these skis, just get them. You'll not be disappointed with these skis. I think they're fantastic. So these, I have Armada Shift 1, the first version, Armada Shift. These are the 13 DIN version. They're not perfect, but they get the job done. I do have some little gripes about them that I'll talk about, but I'll talk about the good things first. So obviously, first of all, with the White Walkers, there's 2 mounting points. There's the factory and there's the Sammy Carlson mounting point. The Sammy Carlson mounting point is further forward. It's still not quite at true center, but it's definitely closer to true center than factory recommended. I went with the Sammy Carlson mount point, and I have read and people say that you should get more flotation with the factory recommended mounting point, and honestly, I have skied so much bottomless power in these and never had a flotation issue. I'm happy with my choice. They're obviously very, very agile with such a close to true center mounting point. But back to the bindings. Once again, I bought these knowing that I was going to do 99% resort skiing and maybe the occasional backcountry day. I just bought them as a future proof, and the reason I went for them is because obviously they work basically like a resort binding. when you have them in ski mode. So the advantages to them over a standard binding is obviously you can flick this piece out here and you can now ski tour with them. The pins go into the pins on my Atomic boots. For that, they work reasonably well. My real only gripe with them in terms of uphill performance is the heel riser or the climbing aid is sometimes not quite enough. And every now and again I'll be climbing up and think, why is my calf muscle hurting? And it's because this is flipped back down. But other than that, that's really the only gripe I have with them uphill is I wish that climbing aid was like a little bit taller. As far as the downhill performance goes, I'd go as far to say as 99% of the time, they function absolutely perfectly. I did have some issues originally setting them up at the start, a couple of pre-releases, and eventually got them nailed and then didn't have any problems again. And it wasn't until the start of March that I had a pre-release at Furano where I turned over a mogul and just my right ski came off and I absolutely ate it. And I wouldn't have stacked it if the ski stayed on. Took them into the shop and this is a known problem with them and they've fixed them with the Shift 2s. But this AFD plate on the Shift 1s is known to slowly, go down. Basically, what I've learned with this is that I should be getting my AFD plate checked more regularly than just at the start of the season. That's the only gripe with them downhill. This season, I'd say, honestly, a 50-50 setup. For what I'm doing here in Japan, I love this setup. And I honestly, if something broke on this setup, I would probably buy the same ski and I would just chuck a set of Shift 2s on it because they've, as far as I understand, they've fixed all of the issues that I have with the Shift 1s. So there you have it. That's the ski gear that I use to do full winter seasons up here in Niseko, Japan. I've slowly collected more gear along the way, and what I have here, it works for me. Not everything, as I said, is 100% perfect, but it's not like I want to get rid of anything and buy something else. So I've worked my way around the quirks of some of the gear, some of the disadvantages, and I've just made do with what I've got. So in saying that, some of the gear that I said have disadvantages, I actually don't even know if there's something better out there on the market. Hopefully the information that I've given here can help you make informed decisions, whether you're coming here on a holiday and you have different choices of gear to bring, or you're looking at coming to do a ski season in Japan and you want to buy some stuff before you come. So this is what I use for skiing in Hokkaido from the very moment that it gets snow right until now. It's April and it's starting to rain and the snow's melting. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about any of the gear or other standard questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will answer to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching.